Elden Ring is right around the corner, and given the amount of hype surrounding the game, I'd be willing to bet that there are plenty of newcomers interested in giving it a go. Although Elden Ring is said to be a lot more welcoming than previous FromSoft games, it still looks like there's going to be a certain level of challenge. Couple that with the fact FromSoft games can be pretty vague when it comes to how the game's mechanics work, this can make it difficult for new players to properly appreciate all the game has to offer. As a veteran of FromSoft games, I thought I'd put together a list of things you ought to know before you embark on your quest. So whether you're totally new to the games or whether you're just looking to brush up on your skills, I hope this video helps set you up for the best possible start in Elden Ring. Number 1. Choose your starting class carefully. The first thing you'll need to do before you begin your quest is create a character for yourself. You'll be able to pick your gender and customise your character to look the way you want, but these are mostly cosmetic options and won't actually affect the gameplay. However, the class you select for your character will indeed affect the gameplay, especially early on, and it's important you select the class that most fits with the way you intend to play. There are a number of different classes to choose from, including the hero, which features high strength stats and plenty of health, the bandit, who has lower health and strength but high dexterity for fast lethal attacks, and the astrologer, who has high intelligence and mind stats, great for those who want to use magic, to name but a few. You can of course put points into different stats as you level up, regardless of your class, but it would be wise to consider how you wish to play and pick a class that best fits. Number 2. It's open world. If you know only one thing about Elden Ring, it's probably the fact that it's open world. Indeed, it's developer From Software's first open world game, and there has been a lot of hype regarding what an open world Souls game will look like, and so far it looks pretty damn good. Previous Souls games have all been linear to a greater or lesser extent, but with Elden Ring you will have the freedom to go wherever you want, whenever you want. This obviously means you will be able to spend hours exploring whatever takes your fancy, and no doubt there will be plenty of cool things that will reward curious players. As you may be aware, the map of Elden Ring is absolutely massive, and a player could easily get lost or wonder where they're supposed to be going next. Luckily, the game features these golden trails, which are subtle beams of light that guide you to your next objective. Of course, you're free to ignore them, but it's nice to know there will be a small guide for those of us who go astray. For the first time in a FromSoft game, you won't be forced to defeat a specific boss or area in order to continue through the game. If you find yourself dying over and over to a boss in an area you've been exploring, you're free to go off somewhere else and come back later when you've levelled up a bit and got some more powerful gear. You'll no longer simply have to get good if you want to see more of the game, you need only explore somewhere else. This should hopefully make the game feel a lot less frustrating for less seasoned players. Number 3. Look for map fragments. When you first start exploring the open world, you may notice that the default map is almost completely useless, showing only the most basic of outlines to indicate locations. Fear not, this can be improved. As you explore the world, you will want to keep an eye open for large stone columns that contain map fragments. Collecting these will update your world map and reveal the area in greater detail. You will also be able to pin icons on the map to indicate places that may be worth returning to. When you first discover a new area, the first thing you'll want to do is find the map fragments. Number 4. It matters what time of day it is. Elden Ring will be the first FromSoft game to feature a day-night cycle. At first it may seem this feature is just there to make the game feel more authentic, but it actually has significant effects on the world around you. There are stealth mechanics in the game, and it was discovered during the network test that enemies had a tougher time spotting you at night. It's also true that there are different enemies in certain areas at night, and they're generally more difficult than their daytime counterparts. Different crafting items will also be more readily available at night, so make sure you don't just explore during the day. It's been confirmed that it takes 1 real-world hour for 1 day to pass in Elden Ring. If you specifically want to explore an area during a certain time, you have the option to quickly pass time at sites of grace. Number 5. Learn to ride Torrent well. As previously mentioned, the world of Elden Ring is seriously big, and it would take a very long time to get around if you were having to run everywhere. Luckily, the game gives a magical mount in the form of Torrent, a horned spirit steed that can quickly get you from A to B. You're going to be spending a lot of time in the saddle, and it's important you feel confident while mounted. Firstly, you should be aware that Torrent can be a great help when it comes to exploring, and not just because he's fast. Torrent can actually double jump, meaning he'll be able to get you to places you wouldn't be able to get to on your own. Be sure to use this to help you reach vantage points that can help you survey your surroundings. Secondly, combat is still totally viable when you're mounted, and in some cases will make fights a lot easier given your improved mobility. Many enemies, especially mounted ones, are easier to tackle with Torrent, so if an enemy keeps kicking your ass, try taking them on while mounted. Also be aware that you could dismount Torrent with a jump attack, so make sure you use that if you want to get a hit on an enemy while dismounting your steed. The bad news is that Torrent can die if he takes too much damage, and you'll have to use a Crimson Flask to revive him. The good news is that he has a very large health pool, and you can also use Roa fruit to craft Roa raisins, which you can feed to Torrent whilst mounted to restore his health. If you're finding you're taking a lot of hits while riding, your best bet is to dismount. You can be knocked off your steed, and the animation for getting back up takes a long time, and enemies can hurt you during this time, meaning you're really punished for trying to tank hits with Torrent. So make sure you pay attention as to which enemies are best to fight mounted or which are best to fight on foot. Number 6. Look for sites of grace. So in the Dark Souls games, resting at bonfires provided you with a safe haven. Here you could adjust your gear, level up, fast travel, and restore your magic and health. Elden Ring will feature similar havens in the form of sites of grace. These small gold auras allow you to rest and provide you with a number of options before you keep on exploring. Like bonfires, they will restore your health and magic and remove any status effects you're suffering from. You will also be able to level up, fast travel, pass time, sort your items, and equip different spells. If you have the right items, you'll also be able to upgrade your health flask to increase the number of times you can use it and how much health it restores. Number 7. Look for Stakes of Marika. Stakes of Marika are statues that provide you with an additional checkpoint near difficult parts of the game, including bosses. Using them will save you having to backtrack to where you died, something that put a lot of people off in Dark Souls. It might be easy to miss a small statue in such a large game, but don't worry. If you're near a Stake of Marika, an icon will appear below your health bar indicating you're close. Be sure to search the area thoroughly if the icon appears, and you'll save yourself a lot of time if you die to a tough enemy. As someone who got seriously impatient with the backtracking in Dark Souls, I'm really glad to hear FromSoft has added this mechanic. Number 8. Crafting will help you have a much easier time. Another new feature in Elden Ring is the crafting mechanic. There are a number of plants and animals that can be hunted down, and they will give you ingredients that you can use to craft a wide variety of useful items. One craftable tool a lot of people found useful in the network test were the sleep bombs and arrows, which could put even large enemies to sleep. These are essential for stealth builds and can help you avoid dangerous enemies you'd rather not fight. That said, you can perform critical hits on sleeping enemies that deal massive damage, so putting a tough enemy to sleep before striking is a great way to get the upper hand. It's also been reported that ingredients seem to respawn when you rest at a site of grace. Number 9. On the basics of combat. Stealth and sleeping arrows may allow you to avoid some encounters, but sooner or later you are going to have to engage enemies, so it's important you understand the basics of combat. The two best ways to avoid damage is either by dodging or using a shield to block. Both use up stamina, but dodging uses less and can help you reposition yourself for a better opening. Of course, you have to make sure you dodge at the right time or else you're going to take damage. Blocking with the shield is easier, but as I said, uses more stamina. You should also be aware that not all shields block 100% of incoming damage, so keep an eye out for a good shield that blocks all damage. Of course, some enemy attacks can get through a shield, so even if you have high stamina, try to practice your dodging too. Like in the Souls games, you can also two-hand certain weapons such as greatswords in order to attack with more speed and do more damage. Not only will your attacks be more deadly, but they will also deal more posture damage. The posture meter isn't actually shown on screen, unlike enemy health, but it is something all characters, including you, have, and depleting an enemy's posture will allow you to perform a critical hit, which will deal massive damage, so be sure to try out two-handed weapons. A great way to leave an enemy open for a critical strike is to parry their attack. Usually done with a shield, this involves hitting the parry button just as the enemy's strike is about to hit you. It can be tricky to master, but doing so can allow you to make short work of even the toughest foes, though it only tends to work on smaller enemies using melee attacks. Don't feel too bad if you can't get the timing down, it is hard and plenty of people have beaten Dark Souls without it, but it's worth experimenting with. A new feature in Elden Ring, which seems designed to help those who struggle with parrying, is the guard counter. In order to guard counter, perform a heavy attack right after you've blocked an enemy attack with your shield, and this will have you counter with your own attack that is almost as effective as a parry. Of course, you'll want to time it right, but this seems to be a more accessible way to punish enemies for attacking recklessly. Another feature that will aid you in combat are the Ashes of War. Similar to combat arts from Dark Souls 3, these specialist attacks will be different depending on which Ashes of War you have equipped, but can deliver powerful strikes against your foes. New skills can be gained by exploring the world and defeating enemies. You can then head to a site of grace to assign a skill to your weapon. It looks like there'll be plenty of different ashes to choose from, so be sure to experiment. Yet another mechanic that will aid you in combat is your ability to summon spirits. Throughout the world you can find spirit ashes which allow you to summon spirits who will help you. You can only summon spirits when you're close to a rebirth monument, and again, an icon will appear on your screen to indicate when you're close. Summoning a spirit will use up focus points, and only one spirit can be summoned in between rests at sites of grace. It should also be noted that they can't be summoned when you're in online play, meaning you can't use them to help you fight another player. Your spirit will vanish once they're either defeated, or you kill the boss in the area, or you move too far away from a rebirth monument. However, you can actually heal your spirits with spells, so keep that in mind. Number 10. Don't give up. Last but not least is perhaps the most important piece of advice I could give anyone playing a FromSoft game. Don't give up. There's no denying that these games are tougher than most other games, but the developers go to great lengths to ensure that the challenge is totally beatable if you're willing to learn from your mistakes and adjust for next time. I totally appreciate that these games can come as a bit of a shock if you're used to more mainstream games. It took me over a year to beat the original Dark Souls when it came out, but these games aren't designed to be frustrating, they're designed to respect your intelligence as a player. While challenging, these games go out of their way to be as fair as possible, and when I die, I have to admit that 90% of the time, it's my own fault. If you enjoyed this video, or if it helped you in any way, then please leave a comment, give it a like, and consider subscribing. That really helps my channel to grow. I can't wait to get my hands on Elden Ring, and I know a lot of you can't either, so I really hope you enjoy it and it lives up to all our expectations. I'll see you next time.